30 with Tony, the best news, the bossest music, and the coolest classic hits, and the best president that ever lived. Let's rock.
Here she comes down, saying morning, morning. Well, shoot 'em down, turn around, come on, morning. Hey, she give me love and I feel alright now. You got me talking, turning me alright, and I feel alright. I say yeah, 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 yeah. Well, you make me feel so good, yeah, so good. Alright, come on, alright, baby, say yeah, 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 yeah. Wake me, shake me, moaning, moaning. Shotgun, get it done, come on, moaning. Don't stop cooking, it feels so good, yeah. Hey, hey, don't stop now, hey, come on, moaning, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you make me feel so good. Yeah, yeah. Alright, come on, so good. Alright, I say yeah, yeah,
Well, hello, Kemosabe's. It's Tony D'Angelo, and this is 30 with Tony. It's 3 p.m. Thursday, March 5th, 2026, out of Domini in the year of our Lord. So happy to have you here for another edition of 30 with Tony. So happy to everybody who is making this a great show. I'm very happy when I see it and when I see it played. I see it played on different platforms. I have people coming back to me, asking questions, giving information, giving suggestions. I love it basically because that's really critical. You've got to have truthful information. Regardless of your belief, you've got to know what the truth is. And sometimes the truth is painful, but many times the truth is liberating. And the truth is always liberating. I mean, my Bible tells me that if you know the truth will set you free. It won't put you in a bag. Well, my job here is not to put you in the bag. So today, I'm actually doing a little experimentation. This is a change in format, basically, from what we've done previously, just to mix it up. I don't plan on changing our usual standard format, but it kind of gives you a different look at things. And that's the whole thing. You have to elevate your sights. You have to look at other perspectives. And you got to check yourself because we get in these things where, you hear the term echo chamber. I don't think that's an apt term. That's one of these nouveau terms, but tunnel vision. And I don't want to have tunnel vision. And I want to look at things from varying perspectives. And occasionally, I might be moved to kind of hopscotch with the format of the show and also make it interesting for you to look at and to listen to. And whatever you do when you listen to 30 with Tony or watch 30 with Tony, I want you to watch 30 with Tony because I think we've got some dynamite visual stuff. But, maybe you listen or maybe you come back and you watch a little bit later. That's okay. Welcome. If you're here, I welcome you and I thank you. But today, the format's a little bit different. The first part of the show, we're going to start out with our classic clip, but it's really going to be kind of an analysis of a classic clip, and it's going to answer a question. If I've heard this question asked often in 2026, it's oftentimes asked to my show host and friend and show manager Lee Elsey on 94.9. It's often asked to me, it's often asked to others as to where are you best situated in the fight? Where do you belong? And people might think you're suited for a certain role, and maybe you don't want to go there. You don't gravitate to that. I was having a discussion about that with someone last week. I know me, myself, and I know where I like to be. I know what I do well in, and other things I don't like doing. Now, what I try to tell myself is that don't close your mind off to things, because many times you'll try something that you won't like at first, but you may start to like at it or become very good at it and or become effective at it to the point where, maybe that's where you belong. You should never close your mind to things, but you should never open your mind to things that you really don't like or you really that aren't good for you. And it's a facts and circumstances thing. Don't come here saying, what is the answer? You're really going to have to get to the answer yourself and pray about that. So that's going to be the first part of the show. The second part of the show, I'm going to show you some video from where I was last night. And where I was last night was the great city of New London, Connecticut. One of my favorite places to be, really, with my good pal, Martin Olsen, a great conservative, an incredibly intelligent man, the former mayor of New London, a former Republican mayor of New London, a treasure trove of knowledge, a scholar, a gentleman, and a great guy to be with. Typically, when we go to New London, we go to the great Mr. G's, and they have got great food there. If you're in New London, go see Peter. Tell him I sent you. You've got to go to Mr. G's. And then what Marty and I do is we drive over the bridge to Groton, and we do Marty's show. Now, it's a little bit of a different thing where I'm really kind of a guest, and I'm being asked questions, and we have discussions that are really, knock down, drag out, no holds barred. And, many times we'll talk about things that perhaps I won't be talking about here, because here is more point driven. That is more information driven. But we're going to show you some of that. And you can tell me if you like it or not. If you like it, we can continue to do segments like that. Or, we stay where we're at, or we mix it up, or however we do it. And then we're going to have a little bit of fun at the end of the show. But first, I want to start off this show today with a classic clip. And the classic clip is really with a purpose, because you see many people, you see them active in social media, you see them active in protesting or going to the legislature or writing essays or writing on Facebook. And, like anything else in life, you've got to take the wheat with the chaff, and you've got to sift out the wheat. And there's a lot of good wheat that these people are doing. Just because they're not in a certain place that is quote unquote regarded by the legitimate media or the legitimate political system, it doesn't mean they're not giving you good value. Many times it's the other way around. And the other thing is that people go to them and say, well, run for office or do this or crusade or whatever. And these people get into emotional conflict. Should I be doing this? Should I not? What is my role? And in the broadcast realm, if you want to call what we're doing here broadcast, or, I do work on the radio. I do work for Talk Red, with Lee Elsey on the segments and things like that. If you want to talk about the, shall I say, the broadcast vein, many times people go to people in broadcasting and say, you ought to run for office. And the people who are in broadcasting oftentimes have a dilemma because they like broadcasting. They are good at broadcasting. They reach many people through broadcasting. And many times people who have been in elected office believe that elected office is the only way you can change things. And I beg to differ with that, frankly. I think there's a lot of ways you can change things, elected office being one. It all comes down to who you vote to and for, but who you vote to and for is an amalgam of many things, notwithstanding fraud, which is another subject that I'm hoping our Vice President J.D. Vance comes to Connecticut and fixes sooner rather than later. He's certainly aware of it, put it that way. You guys have made him aware, and I'm grateful to you for that. But that said, I have a movie here for you that is that dilemma. When you're in a fight, like many of us are, a fight for America, a fight for Connecticut, a fight for your family, a fight for your home, your school, your belief in God, whatever it is you want to do. And shall I say, political rejects are trying to ram things through you and not give you a chance to speak up about it. It's a fight. It's a fight. And I get very angry at, shall I say, the generation of Republicans in Connecticut who for years and years and years and years tried to make this a kumbaya thing. Oh, yeah, they looked like they were fighting and that sort of thing, but they never fought things at the core and did things 30, 35, 40 years ago that would make things much better for us now. But they didn't do it. And then they oftentimes come out of retirement and want to tell us what, great political champions they were. Please spare me. But this all being as it is, I have a movie for you that is analogous to where we're at right now. And the question is, do you stay in your lane? If you're a broadcaster, do you stay as a broadcaster? If you are a show host, do you stay as a show host? Or do you fight in the Army? And let's just get to it, because I was watching this the other day, and man, oh man, this is an incredible, incredible, incredible movie. Not one you're going to hear about a lot. It is called Manila Calling, and it was made in 1942. And there were a number of films in the early part of World War II that were known as propaganda war films. At least that's the, shall I say, the Wikipedia definition. And basically, Hollywood at that time took whatever information they had for the out islands in the Second World War, and as these islands fell to the Japanese, they would make movies out of what they knew. And the movies we looked at, I believe, Bataan, we might have looked at So Proudly We Hail, but this particular movie has really a particular, shall we say, dilemma. And if you look at the history of the start of World War II, and did Franklin Roosevelt, we've looked at Tora as well, did Franklin Roosevelt know about the Japanese coming to attack Pearl Harbor? Well, actually, pretty much everyone was asleep at the switch, whether they knew or whether they didn't. Don't you love government? But this particular movie says, as this band of Americans is in Luzon fighting for their life against the incoming Japanese forces, is it better for everybody to be firing a gun at the Japanese, or should some of us stay on the radio and drill the message into the hearts of thousands who otherwise wouldn't hear of it? And that's a large part of what's here. And what I like about this thing is we're having this discussion today. If someone is a great talk show host, like a Lee Elsey, should Lee Elsey run for the United States Senate? Well, many people will tell him that he's more effective where he's at. My My political timber burned a long time ago. It's not even a discussion for me. I'm happy where I am. But that all said, is what gives you the greatest outreach to the greatest number of people, where you're doing what you do, what you belong, and you know something, you have to like it too. Because if you don't like it, it's not for you. There's nothing. I've been in firms and jobs where I was incredibly well paid, and maybe I liked the work, but I hated the surroundings. These are the things you have to decide for yourself. But anyway, this particular movie, a large part of it is as these people are being shot and killed and maimed by the oncoming Japanese, do they all go out and fight with guns and bullets, or do some of them stay on the radio to broadcast the message to the thousands that hope is coming and better days are coming and America will come to free us? Now let's look at the actors, some classic actors here. Lloyd Nolan is a long-time Hollywood actor, played a lot of detective roles and tough guy roles, and was sort of a quintessential leading man of the 1940s. Started to really, maybe he did some television in the 1950s, but his era was really 1930s and 1940s. And the picture of him there is typical of the character he played. The tough guy, the pipe, talking off the side of his mouth. He is one of the lead players in this thing. Now, Carol Landis is the, shall we say, the female love interest. She is a particularly tragic story in Hollywood. For all in kind of the Sharon Tate of her time. Very nice, wholesome girl. American, red-blooded. She did a lot of touring with Bob Hope during World War II, and she was a. You look at the some of the films and the pictures of her, incredibly lovely. She killed herself actually because. From what I understand, her love interest, who was Rex Harrison, the great Dr. Dolittle, would not leave his wife and marry her. One of these typical Hollywood tragedies, but sort of like a Marilyn Monroe or a Sharon Tate before that. But she plays, she's sort of oddly cast in this thing. But when you're watching it, it's like, well, isn't this what we're fighting for in America? Freedom and good-looking men and beautiful women. I'm all for it. I don't care what you say. Cornell Wilde is in this movie. He is a handsome leading man actor, and he is part of the contingent of Americans who are stranded in the Philippines fighting the Japanese. James Gleason is an old character actor. He plays one of these curmudgeonly guys. You will see him. And the other people, I don't think you would be that familiar with. But the plot of the movie is when the Japanese invade the Philippines, they capture the radio station owned by the Americans. And then the staff of the radio station, they stem a Japanese advance, and then they find a encampment with a radio transmitter. And the thing is, do we get on the radio, or do we do whatever we can do to fight against the Japanese? And this is the dilemma we're having today. Do we speak on Facebook? Do we speak on Twitter, wherever we happen to, or Instagram, or whatever your thing is, or X? Or do we go out and actually get involved in elected office? And you know something? What this movie tells me is two things. Number one, do not go. It tells me a few things. Do not go where you're not suited. Do not discount the fact of standing and speaking the truth to thousands and hundreds of thousands and hundreds or tens or millions or whatever, because each one will reach one and teach one, and that's the way it's supposed to work. And the other thing is, if you are put in a position where you are the person who is the last person able to do something, and maybe you don't believe in it, give it a try, and Lord only knows, you will find something out that you've never, ever, ever imagined. So what I would like to do Number one, I'm not going to spoil the movie for you. The movie is Manila Calling. It was made in 1942. Here's a poster, kind of the typical poster that you would see at that time. But basically, it was a movie that was designed to lift the spirits of the Americans and make them fight for their freedom, kind of like what we're doing today. And it was, this is America. It's a beautiful place, but we're only going to be free if we see it and we continue to fight against what would push against that. And so many of the parallels, like my son John, so many of the parallels that you see here, you'll find yourself in them today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little clip from this movie where the Lloyd Nolan character and the Cornell Wilde character are discussing the merits of the radio and whether they should all go to fight or should somebody broadcast. And I'm not going to spoil the ending of this for you and what the movie says about the power of the spoken message over the airways. My God, in this country, let us never lose the First Amendment. Let us never get some weasel demo commie idiot telling us what we can and can't say. The freedom of speech of Americans is what was bought and paid for by the blood of so many before this, including my uncle who lost an eye at the Battle of the Coral Sea. I never, ever, ever will forget that in my life. It's part of the reason why I'm here, part of the reason why I do what I do. I can give you a much longer explanation on that, but basically, when you're given a chance to fight and to actually stop evil from happening, in my book, you've got to do that. So I'm going to show you this film where these characters are having this debate. You make up your own mind. The film, Manila Calling, made in 1942. It's on the Internet Archive and YouTube for free, starring Lloyd Nolan, Carol Landis, Cornell Wilde, and some of the others. James Gleason, you will note him from movies that you have seen. Lester Matthews, kind of an old character actor. I don't know how long he actually goes in the movie, but you'll learn a lot in this movie, and I want you to come back and tell me what you think. So let's look at this excerpt, and I'm going to send you to the movies, and after which we will be at the City Focus show of last night with me and Martin Olsen, and you're going to love the knockdown, drag-out discussion we had. So let's roll it all.
I thought you were checking up.
I am.
Well, we wrecked that one machine gun. The one on the anti-aircraft mount looks okay. Picked up 14 Meiji rifles and darn little ammunition, that's all.
No, it isn't. We've got a great weapon here, Lucky.
What are you talking about? Where are you going to get your power? The generator's smashed.
I think it can be fixed.
Well, I don't think so.
Listen, there's something big enough to win the war in this radio.
But... Say, what's the matter? The heat hit you?
This can put courage back into the hearts of beaten people.
Oh, you mean propaganda? Oh, it's for Japs and crooked politicians.
We can fight Jap lies with truth. They've had things pretty much their own way. They're beating the natives down with bombs and broadcasts. Look, Lucky, we can hold this spot and keep the spirit of freedom alive in these islands. It's a new way to fight. A guerrilla radio station.
I'm for raiding Jap units, cutting communications, burning their supplies. That's the only way I know how to fight.
What makes you so sure we can fight our way out of here? My way, we defend this rock and attack them on the air.
Yeah. I don't buy it, Jeff, but you're the boss.
Hey, Corbett. Now it's my turn. Don't be a pig.
The monkeys have no tails. They were bitten off by whales. You turn that water off out there?
No.
Well, who did?
Lucky! Quick, blow up the pump. All our water's in that well down there.
That's great. No water.
That's all there is. And you wasted enough to keep us alive for days.
But at least I can die clean.
Maybe Mondo's got some in the kitchen.
Hey, Mondo! How's your water supply?
It stops. No more comes from tap. Do you find where Japanese hide food?
There's none in the storehouse.
What?
None there anyplace else.
No food in kitchen.
That's why it was so easy. Only 30 Japs up here. The others went for supplies.
That means they'll be back, too. All of them.
Well, we'll have a reception committee.
Sure, look, he passes out another miracle. You got us into this one.
That's enough, Corbett. We all came here for food.
Ah, an order from our boss. Maybe you've got the answer all wrapped up.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat.
Good Jojo. Let me feel of your nice little bones.
Don't look at him like that, O'Rourke. You're not going to eat him.
They'd probably be as tough as I am anyway.
Hey, boys. Well, that pump is canceled for fair. Tank looks pretty full, though. Cruz, you came up this way, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Is that a pretty tough climb?
Well, it's tough, but it could be done.
And good evening, and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olsen, your host, and tonight I'm delighted to welcome back my friend and yours, and arguably my best guest, and enjoy having him in as often as I can, Tony D'Angelo.
Marty, good evening, and good afternoon to all the good Kemasabis on 30 with Tony who are watching this simulcast here on City Focus.
Okay, so we're expanding our base a little bit. Maybe you can explain what we're doing here.
Well, we're going to have the show tonight, and then this will play again on Thursday at 3, and they will see our discussion and kind of see what we're doing here in a different light. I'm really kind of excited about it.
Now, you on Thursdays do a podcast, right?
Yeah, 30 with Tony every Thursday at 3 on Twitter, so it's easy to remember. And it's a lot of fun. We do a classic movie review. We do some music, and we hit the affairs of the day, which usually is what happens to hit me an hour before, and we have a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds terrific, and like I say, we're expanding our base, and quite frankly, right here at SEC-TV, we're expanding our base. We are now live streaming. So if you are not on BreezeLine or Frontier or Comcast, you can still get the program alive and living color. And for those folks who missed the program, we're on YouTube. So lots of places to find City Focus, and please take advantage of it. Well, lots of stuff going on in the state.
Anywhere you want to go.
Well, let's start with the state. I know when you're a weekly regular on Tuesdays at 7 on Lee Elsie's 94.9, The Voice of Freedom.
The Voice of Freedom.
Excuse me, folks. I got a little tickle in my throat here. And you tend to hone in on state issues when you're on with Lee. And we were over dinner. I had mentioned that I've been seeing a fair amount of Aaron Stewart advertising on TV, and she's seeking the Republican nomination for governor. And I'm just kind of wondering if you'd seen her clips, and what do you think of the governor's race? And do you think either she or Senator Ryan Fazio, who's also seeking the nomination, have a shot at King Lamont?
Yeah, and also Betsy McCoy. I mean, no secret, the Aaron Stewart commercials are everywhere. I mean, I have a Roku, and they're popping up on the Roku, and they are very, very, very well done commercials, and she's reaching a demographic there. She's reaching to people, and when you look at. She also does a couple of Facebook Lives, and there's the camera, there's a couple of Facebook Lives she does, and there's a lot of byplay, and people find her relatable.
She's young. She served
young,
at least
attractive,
a dozen years as mayor
all of that
of New Britain.
Yeah. She hasn't, at least in my view, has not really hit the critical issues of, as you say, King Lamont, the corruption, the taxes, the economic degradation, the things we talk about, on 30 with Tony weekly and on the Lee Elsie show, and doesn't really seem to be going anywhere near that. I don't know, Marty, if that is, shall we say, by design or without interest, or perhaps not having the background. Now, Ryan Fazio, I don't know as much about. He does not seem to have the pull. I know they said he's up in likability. He does seem like a likable young man. I tend to look at everything in policy, maybe because I'm just a grumpy old guy. But I look at, basically, the first thing I look at is tax plan. How much do I have to pay to keep this, dog and pony show in Connecticut, which largely is a dog and pony show, out of my pocket, which, I get very little benefit out of. and the Aaron Stewart doesn't seem to be offering anything. There was one comment somebody said that, well, will you get rid of, which is an innocent enough question, will you get rid of the income tax like candidate Betsy McCoy, whom we have not yet introduced to this discussion, plans to do? And she was like, nah, no, we can't do that. I mean, it's a lot of our revenue, which is not really what I want to be hearing from, it's like, well, what, it's like the old song, Monday nothing, Tuesday nothing, Wednesday and Thursday, Friday for a change, a little more nothing. We're going to get a little more nothing. I want something bold because we are so pitifully behind in so many things. In her town, in her city, Stanley Toole gone, which this past Tuesday we went through that. And I don't think
Is it manufacturing or is it headquarters or the whole kit and caboodle?
It was only, apparently the headquarters right now are in Connecticut, but I hear they're not going to be there for very long. Why would they be, frankly? The poll seems to be to North Carolina. North Carolina has a 2% corporate tax rate, which is 25% of ours, a much better business environment. So the only thing they were making in New Britain was tape measures, so this is like, well, when we don't have a demand for tape measures, we're going to shut down. And that's basically what they did. So I'm like, I'm seeing the same thing, perhaps from a different person, as we see from the great economic regime of our King and Governor Ned Lamont, the unaccountable. Now, Betsy McCoy, who is quote unquote a major leaguer, she's played in the big. She was lieutenant governor in New York. Has got some great ideas. I do believe some of the ideas need refining. I've mentioned, to discuss that with her. Case in point, she says, I'm going to leave the corporate rate the same. Well, that's the precise reason why we're losing Stanley. So it's, I think there's a lot of hope. So basically what I'm looking at is a very mature candidate who I think gets it. Somebody in the middle who seems to be nice and decent, but yet is a part of really, hey, listen, warts and all, right? That's what we do on 30 with Tony. The failed republicanism of decades. I'm not attributing all that to Ryan Fazio's back. That's unfair. But and then you've got Aaron Stewart, who seems to be maybe the most popular, but the lightest intellectually and substantively.
Well, I don't know Betsy McCoy.
Yeah.
Fazio I met about a month ago at the Grassroots Eats Dinner up in Norwich. And I've invited him to come and
sit in this chair.
Sit in that chair, and I'm hoping to be able to get him in before the primary. As with Ms. Stewart, and I would have Ms. McCoy as well. I'd like to get all three of them. It'd be nice to get all of them at the same time. I'm not sure we can pull that off. But I did have Stewart on in her capacity as mayor when we had the studio over in Waterford. And I view her current ad campaign as more of an introduction as opposed to a policy.
One would hope. Yeah.
That's my analysis of that. Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm new. I'm young.
Yeah.
And we want something different.
That's what we're getting.
And that's what she's offering at a quick blush in 30 seconds. The other candidates, if they're not known and she's getting her name out there for a primary, that may or may not be enough. I'm not sure. Primaries tend to get the extremes of both parties. She does have a reputation for being, in Republican circles, I think, is not being too hard to the right enough. But to get elected as mayor in a Democratic city, I don't think you can run to the hard right and be successful. So you have to kind of evaluate that as well. And that may be the same case even in the state. Jody Rell was not known as being a hard right.
No, she really wasn't.
And as conservative as John Rowland was, during election time, he tended to tack a little bit more towards the center.
Yeah, and when everything else failed, he just started handing out money. I agree with you.
So, you can't get much done if you don't get elected. So you have to kind of bob and weave and It can be challenging at times.
But we were talking about that, and this is the thing which I don't think is addressed. Now, it could just be me, okay? It is a statistical fact. I didn't make this up. 40% of this state voted for Donald Trump. 40%. And
which is about the same percentage
that
as votes for the
seems-
second congressional district.
And this is the part, Marty, I just can't get. Instead of trying to say, well, we want to get behind, because Lee Elsey and I talk about this a lot. He asked this question to candidates. How do you get past the Trump stigma? And it's like, and I might scratch my head and say, well, yeah, he is who he is, but what stigma? Does anybody look at the good things this man has done? And does, as far as things policy-wise in this state could really bring it from last to first. We try to talk about that on Tuesdays. Hopefully we do a good job of it. But that being as it is, I asked the question as to why aren't you making the 40%, 50%, as opposed to trying to make the other 60% somehow become accepting of your version of republicanism, and in doing that, you're losing the 40%. This is my view of the world.
Yeah. Well, the last two cycles for Congress, Mike France has been the standard bearer for the GOP, and I like Mike.
I like Mike too.
I think he's a good, solid guy. If elected, will do a terrific job.
I agree with you.
The key is get elected. And he's been kind of, I think, caught in that 40% trap. I mean, we've had a quality guy like Mike get 40, and then we've had some folks that you hold your nose, and they get 40%.
Get the same. But is it a different 40? That's my question. Is the 40, quote unquote, that Mike draws, the different 40 than the hold your nose guy draws? And I think it is. And I'm only dealing, believe me, you're talking to a Ripplewood High School remedial math graduate. But when you've got 40% saying, I will vote for Donald Trump in a state like Connecticut, felon, philanderer, whatever else you want to say, crook, they voted for him. That's a fact.
Well, I voted for him multiple times.
Yeah, I did too.
I will look at Democratic candidates, but I mean, none in recent memory have earned my vote. Their policies and where they want to take things isn't the same place I want to go.
Where does the sane Democrat go? I mean, I have an idea. If you're a sane Democrat, you go with Trump, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Bobby Kennedy, who do great work, who do absolutely great work for that administration. And
look at John Fetterman.
John Fetterman, yeah. He's sort of my new hero.
He's been amazing. There's a guy who could barely utter a sentence during the campaign due to medical issues. And you'd wonder why anybody would vote for him. And he gets in, and look how he's turning out.
Well, he's cleaned himself up. He's away from the wife. He's away from the drugs, and he's recovered. And he's listening, and he's. I mean, people like my wife Kathy always says, "Well, I wish he would dress better." He dressed very nicely for the State of the Union, but I like him, and I mean, he's getting a lot of support from Republicans. Who I know Katie Britt loves him, Lindsey Graham loves him. It's just you don't see people like that anymore.
Well, I mean, unless the Democrats dump him, I mean, he will be difficult to beat.
Sure. And you think of that, if you listen, like we like to do on 30 with Tony, warts and all. If you look at Pennsylvania, that's a state where you have a guy there, McCormick, who, I mean, yeah, he was out of the Dalio camp, and there's questions about him and all that, but fought like hell to get that Senate seat. Just did whatever, and they had a ground game. They were watching the funny stuff at the polls. Now, how to beat an incumbent, you do what he did. Then you have somebody like Fetterman who, would quote, and said, well, this is going to be, Mutt and Jeff, it's not going to work. And now you've got a guy who's very even, who wants to, quote unquote, do well for the people of Pennsylvania. And it's like, and that's a state that really was that close to really becoming like Connecticut and wasn't. So I think there's hope, but it's just, I get back to that 40% thing. What 40% in that amoeba of everything are you hitting? And a lot of money is spent, a lot of people get rich, and nobody ever wins.
Yeah, well, in relatively, excuse me, recent memory, the GOP in Connecticut, which currently has no federal or state officials, statewide, or Congress.
Right.
I mean, we had McKinney and Shays, and we had Gary Franks, and John Rowland, and Nancy Johnson, and Simmons. I mean, we've had Jody Rell, Lowell Weicker. I mean, Republicans have been elected here.
Yes, they have.
Now, if you look at that group, I would say none of them are Newt Gingrich types, or maybe they might even be Sam Nunn types. But they were Republicans, and they could get elected.
Well, I think you had a different, shall we say, and the difference is quote unquote politically manufactured to the detriment of just about anybody else who doesn't want a freebie. You had a large industrial base of corporations and people and small businesses who were here because they liked the state, they liked the proximity between New York and Boston, and they liked the fact that if you go back before the wonders of Lowell Weicker 35 years ago, the state was largely income tax free. And then once that happened, one by one, they started moving and moving and moving. And right now, I mean, and not only, Marty, was it corporations, it was sports teams that, very, very stupid planning on the part of Connecticut. It's actually a redundancy when you say that, but Connecticut could have had a couple of big league sports teams if they had actually done things properly. But
we had the Hartford Whalers.
Had the Hartford Whalers.
And that was I don't think people fully recognize the hole that left in Hartford.
Absolutely.
I mean, to have 40 dates where you're going to get 10 to 15,000 people in downtown Hartford, they lost that.
Well, and I think to your point, why did we have Republicans? Because you had people here who were living, working, and doing business who had Republican-type interests. Now, when you get to, quote-unquote, a social economy or a social services economy, or we are going to, quote-unquote, be the support for everything and everyone that comes in, the industry goes, and the politicians that are elected are people that would support that, who basically, if not for politics, they would be unemployable. That's basically it.
That's one of the ironies of our governor. I mean, he's a wealthy guy.
Yes, he is.
If I'm not mistaken,
Old
he may
money.
Come from wealth.
Old money.
He's Greenwich, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you'd think he'd be fit more into the Republican mode than the Democratic mode, but he's been, from my perspective, taxed pretty hard to the left.
You see, this is the whole thing, and I might be the only person that feels this way, but I will feel the way that I do. I think his job as governor is secondary to his mission, which is given to him by his wife's investors, his neighbors, and people who want him to do a certain thing. Now, I think a large part of that is go along to get along. Yeah, we're going to, quote unquote, do a certain thing, or maybe we have to give something up here, but we're going to get a lot back in return, that kind of thing. And when people look at him as, quote unquote, the governor, and they see him as only the governor, I see a whole lot of other motivations where I don't think he really cares at all about what he's governing. I think what he cares about is, can I bring home the bacon one more day? Because ask yourself, I mean, we're going to go through years 9 through 12 with him. What would be the point in his doing that if he didn't have that motivation? Because he loves people, wants to, excuse me, wants to govern them? I don't see it.
Well, he's certainly not the warm and fuzzy type.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I mean, I know when I listened to you on Tuesday,
Excuse me, yeah.
I think that's catchy. On Lee's program, I mean, that you frequently drive home the point that there are conflicts of interest with his wife and things that she's doing and that he's seeing gets funded, whether it's through
and
nonprofits or business and contracts, but and nobody seems to care.
Well, and that is, and thank you for asking that question. That to me is a perpetual dilemma, because it's either they don't care because they don't care. You know, as long as they get my bread buttered, he could stand on the corner and play with a rattle for all I care. Or there are other things with respect to what people are doing where it's like, well, if I pick on him on that, what's going to happen when they find out about me? I don't know. I mean, what I think my difficulty is that the idea is, if you're not representing the people that you're governing, thank you. Why would you continue to govern unless you had some other motive involved? And that's kind of where I'm at on the whole thing. I don't know why he's running again. What for? What benefit is there for him to do that, other than some other benefit that has nothing to do with his governing?
And it's ironic too, because the third term seems to have, at least in Connecticut, proven to be the third rail. I mean, that was Rowland's third rail, the third term. And will it become, and nobody saw it coming in through the election. It was after the election. And little stuff took him down. And when we look at what's going on with fraud in Minnesota, and you had Walz and Ellison. He's
Keith Ellison is the Attorney General.
He's a nasty man.
Nasty, incompetent, and abusive. Yeah.
What's going on out there, and the impression I get is they feel that they can just tuck their head in the sand and play ostrich, and they're going to get away with it.
Well, there's and you see the same thing in a lot of these people who are, for lack of a better term, incompetent, moronic. You wonder why they do what they do. I mean, like Maura Healey in Massachusetts, Michelle Wu in Boston, Senator Douglas McCrory in Connecticut, which is, I have done nothing wrong other than, and this is not to pick on Senator McCrory, even though it's the same thing. I have done nothing wrong other than take money and distribute it for the benefit of my people. Isn't that why I'm here? No matter what, no matter who you had to fraud or pillage, or doesn't matter. I did what I was supposed to do. So yeah, I'm innocent because of the fact that I completed my mission. Right, wrong, it makes no difference.
Now, who does this McCrory represent? Because I saw something recently. I can't tell. Hartford is senator is stepping down.
Well, that's him. I can't give you his exact district, but I believe he has Hartford, Bloomfield going up that way.
Okay, so we're talking the same guy.
Yeah, and that's like really, really, really nasty stuff. We have a department in Connecticut known as the Department of Economic and Community Development. Should have been abolished years ago. Should have been abolished in the first 5. Just handing out money, doing absolutely nothing. People walking away. Earl O'Gara. Let's just go all the way back to it. Everything they've ever done, but no governor has ever said, "Hey, wait a minute. This isn't economic development. This the recycling of tax dollars for the benefit of cronies. Well, it just continues to go on. Republicans act like, life is wonderful. They will continue to look at that department and try to use them economically, which I think really is an insult to the intelligence of people in Connecticut, those that are actually looking at it. And it's like, and here's a guy that basically walked in, I've read the emails, I read the audit report, just like a vending machine where you don't pay, Marty, basically. Just, you give me that now. I want this allocation. I want this allocation for my girlfriend who has this charity and this sub-charity, and where's my Yukon tickets, and I, aren't you going to get me the tickets? And it's just this thing of, but in his mind it's, well, I'm doing what's right. That's exactly, my job here is to be some sort of a political Robin Hood. And I think to your point, how can Tim Walz look at these people in Congress and say, I'm not an incompetent, I'm not a loser, because I'm bringing the resources to Minnesota to help my kids and help my people. And how dare you drag me here for this?
Well, I'm watching him for a brief period today, and where he's saying that, he's being questioned as to his awareness of what's going on. And his response is that his first priority is to see that the children get taken care of. And then we'll worry about anything else, if there's anything else to worry about. And apparently in his eyes, nothing's been there to worry about.
Well, I think you hit on it. It's this whole kind of Mother Teresa thing. It's, but I'm looking out for the children, and everything else doesn't matter because I'm doing what's right. And I think this is the same mentality that says, well, we don't have to look at a federal statute, or we don't have to follow the law, or we don't have to, it's perfectly okay to take from someone. If you're doing this work of God that I'm ordaining, that's what it all comes down to.
And to think he almost became Vice President.
Can you imagine? And this is a man who admitted to the American people that he's a knucklehead. I don't want a knucklehead. I don't want a knucklehead near a button. It's like, there's something wrong with you if you think this is a good thing. I know our folks watching don't feel that way. Certainly my 30 with Tony people don't feel that way.
Boy, I'll say, excuse me here. Well, an item that you sent along to me for discussion that I'm going to throw back at you is the Connecticut Committee on Tax Fairness.
Oh.
So for the edification of our audience, what is that? What is its function? And are they even remotely meeting their goals and objectives?
Well, I think the scary thing is I think they are meeting their goals and objectives. And that's, there are a number of people. One, there is a state representative. His name is Jason Doucette, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, out of Mansfield. And he has come to the conclusion that Connecticut needs to pay more tax. And people that are on the higher end, they've all have to have a bracket increase because the 2025 changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act caused the tax savings. And he's like, well, it is their right and their duty to pay that back into Connecticut to support, the waste, the fraud, the abuse. I'm not saying it's all waste, fraud, and abuse, but I mean, how much waste, fraud, and abuse do you have to see to know that you don't have waste, fraud, and abuse, Marty Olsen? And then it's like, well, all right, fine. What's going to happen when you go to people and you say, well, you got to pay more tax? Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I don't need to do that. I was saying to Lee Elsey on Tuesday, do you realize the state balances its budget on 6 billionaires? There were 8, I think, in 2021, and at the end of 2021 lost 2. Now, there's a couple of like silent billionaires that aren't like, the Steve Cohens and the Ray Dalios, but if these people, one day they're going to die, And I don't think their kids are going to hang around saying, I love Connecticut, I'm going to continue to pay that. They are out of here. And the other thing is, if you tick them off to the point of, well, why do I need to be here? What are you going to do? And then it's to say, okay, you're going to raise taxes. You know, these political idiots that think this is what's going to happen. Why do you want to tell me to raise taxes and you've got a DECD situation, you've got a McCrory situation, you've got a, you have how many nonprofits get money from the state of Connecticut? There's no control on it. The Republicans are talking about, well, let's have earmark reforms. That is only 15% of the solution. There's zero accountability to what happens. And oh, by the way, there is no freedom of information. So you give money to the Blue Hill Civic Association. I don't know how many millions they've received, but can you look in their records to see what they've done? No, I mean, it's a shadow government. It's 10% of the budget. No idea what these people are doing. They're doing it without controls. And the attitude of your garden variety legislator on the best side is, well, we want to give these things to people being helped. Well, twofold, Marty. When did government start to become a social service industry? I thought government's job was like defend the nation, fix the roads, have the schools, that kind of thing. Now it's, quote unquote, the Mother Teresa for it's all. And just about every state Republican feels that way. That's not Republicanism. The second thing is, well, if you keep spending the way you are without accountability, it's sooner or later nobody's going to be around, basically, to say, I'm not going to support that. And so that's the whole crux of the whole thing.
Well,
so
I think
let's just tax people more.
A good, a good read there. Again, getting back to Mr. Bob Swick, with transparency, or lack thereof.
Right. Well,
and also right now, if there's one thing that I know about Ryan Fazio, is that he takes a lot of credit for having put on the electric bill that
the public benefits charge.
The public benefit. Now, just the fact that it's now become a public benefit, you can see how much you're spending in that. But he's just done nothing to take it out.
Well, look at it this way.
Which Ms. Stewart is saying in her advertising that she will.
Well, but this is the whole thing, Marty. You take it out, where does it go? Are we having a energy policy that will make things cheaper and more affordable? I hear the excuses and I hear the thing that we're landlocked and we're this and we're that. Well, the fact of the matter is, what do we have to do in order to become more energy cost efficient? Because, and you hear all the excuses, but if we don't become energy cost efficient, no one will come here to do anything. Stanley Toole, okay, we talked about that earlier in the discussion. If you look at what they did, now again, these are corporate people. They may not always be rocket scientists, but they're infinitely smarter than politicians. And they looked at it and said, well, utilities here are killing us. And not only that, but in our utilities, we're 20%, and they pay a lot more in their electric bill than you or I might. We're subsidizing political stupidity and mess. We ain't going to do that. And they're gone. How hard is it? It doesn't work.
And it's certainly not an incentive for anybody to come here.
Thank you for saying that. That was the point I forgot about.
So, I mean, you may have those who are here who will leave.
Yeah.
Because it's not competitive, and it's not competitive. And that's something that I've clearly outlined when I've run for local office. I mean, people have choices. They don't have to come to New London or Connecticut. They can go to Lincoln, Nebraska, or Alabama, or North or South Carolina.
How hard is it? We're talking about that on Tuesday with Lee. How hard is it for, if you're in a soft industry, finance, or something you're doing on a computer, if you're designing or if you're doing AI or things like that to say, well, I am going to pick up my computer, I am going to sell my home, I'm going to go to a tax-free state, and I will pay a whole lot less than what I am doing now, and I don't have to support this. And what will happen? Those people will sell their homes. Somebody else will buy them who probably, just the way it goes, are going to be involved in some sort of a tax-supported industry. If it's an industry, you know, they'll be involved in something, you know, either in government or possibly with a nonprofit or a university. And when the tax-paying people move out, there's nothing left to support the others that are there. And that's sadly what's happening. That money is mobile, and it will go, and it is going. I can't tell you the amount of clients I have seen move. My people have gone to Florida, they've gone to North Carolina, they've gone to Tennessee. We're still working for them, but I mean, it's like they finally said, I can't deal with what's here anymore. It's ridiculous. On top of being business unfriendly and hostile.
Yeah, I mean, southeastern Connecticut right now, with some major hiring by Electric Boat, is creating a shortage in high-end housing. And it's being filled with a lot of apartments, which concerns me that you're getting transients coming in. Mm-hmm. And if market conditions change, they're out of here.
Yeah. And what's causing this building boom is evil, awful, terrible, rotten Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're they're the ones that are creating the jobs.
Well, it was like that back in the 80s with Reagan when he was building up the Gagenson and other Democrats who were skewering defense while they had their hand back like this with Reagan and saying, keep it coming, pal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Joe Courtney's great at that. He sends out his weekly newsletter wanting to convince you that he built the submarine. It's all him.
I get it.
Him and Maxwell Silverhammer.
Yep. Are you able to talk for a minute or so? Because I need to...
Certainly.
I'm going to make a return here, but I will be back.
I will share with I'll share with the good folks here in New London, and this is if you tuned in to watch 30 with Tony, this is a special edition. I am on City Focus. This is actually being taped the night before with Martin Olsen. Martin is a good friend. He is the former mayor of New London, Connecticut, and Marty is a great guy, great conservative, and we have these, as you're watching these discussions that we're having, that basically are the type of discussions that we have when we're together and just a couple of old guys getting together trying to settle the world. And I'm always pleased to be here, and I when we have these discussions, I like to do things. You know, for those of you guys that have watched me for the years that you have, I mean, I like no holds barred. I like things straight out. I personally have no agenda but the truth of what it is we want to get to. And we were talking at dinner, and you know, we have our favorite people that we've liked. My model. There's two guys growing up that I used to watch a lot. And the strangest thing is they're probably my two favorites of all time. They're both Jewish men. They're both liberals. They're both Democrats. One was Mike Wallace of 60 Minutes fame. The other was Howard Cosell. Interestingly, Howard Cosell and Mike Wallace did not get along at all. But basically, these were guys that were always after the truth and the meat of the matter. And that's basically what I want to do. We're fed a lot of things. We're fed a lot of things as far as on the media. Our state media, which is taxpayer supported, we've been through that on the Lee Elsey Show, the 30 with Tony, and on X. Is largely driven by tax dollars to make you try to believe a certain thing. And like Marty and I were just talking about, that 40% that voted for Trump. Well, my question is, what 40%? Because I can't believe the media as far as what that 40% represents, because it's obviously not correct. Anyway, back to you, Marty.
Well, thank you. One thing I wanted to, a couple of things, just to expand the conversation a little bit here. Did you have a chance to watch and comment on the State of the Union address?
I didn't comment, but I certainly watched.
Well,
I liked it.
To comment.
Well, put it this way. I think the conduct of the Democrats was shameful. It was hurtful to watch as an American. I don't want to watch people boo-hooing and cursing at the president. I don't want to watch Tom Suozzi out of Long Island, a congressman, falling asleep, who basically, Suozzi, going back years to me, was one of those like saner Democrat voices. Intelligent guy, he was Fordham Law. He was somebody who, he was on the level. Now I think he's turned into some sort of a nincompoop where he's practically falling asleep. I mean, and to me, how could I put it? I think you have the office of the president and you have, quote unquote, the man. If you don't like the man, or if you hate the man, why do you disrespect the office? And why are you, why do you say these things that are just demeaning of the office? How does that play into the world? It's terrible. And then you've got out and out idiots that just are stupid, frankly, like Shri, whatever his name is, or Melanie Stansbury, and it's like, you certainly don't need an IQ test to get into Congress, that's for sure.
Well, I concur with you in terms of their conduct. The presidents, going back to Reagan, maybe even before, but I recall Reagan bringing in special guests for notoriety and exceptional things. When American exceptionalism was the thing.
Yeah.
Obama's the one who kind of swept American exceptionalism under the rug. He was asked about it, and he says, "Well, yeah, I believe in American exceptional, like I believe in Ethiopian exceptionalism."
He also told everybody who worked for something that they didn't build it.
But I mean, Reagan would bring in the teams to the White House and champions and things of that nature, and recognize people at the State of the Union, and everybody applauded because it was American. It's exciting. And how the Democrats under Trump, they allowed their distaste for the man.
It was shameful
to interfere with the right thing to do.
And then you have the morons of the world, the Chris Murphys, who are like, I'm not going to attend. Well, listen, idiot, you represent me. You represent me in the state. You are my senator. And what you're effectively saying is you're turning away from the business of the nation so you can have your little pity party spat. And that's, I mean, I don't know. There's two things about that and him that I don't understand. You never, ever, ever, ever hear Republicans in this state say what I just said about him. You'll read Twitter and he'll come out with these things that just are bots on, just crazy. And he'll get thousands of comments. It'll be, out of 1,000 comments, 5 will be favorable. And then you wonder, well, how did he even bother to win the race that he did, which gets into the whole voter fraud thing and everything like that. But it's like, this man does not represent anybody's interests. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think, sound like my father, I think he's 2 steps away from a straitjacket. It's an embarrassment to the state. It's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Dick Blumenthal wears a suit, speaks clearly.
And he showed up. He looked like he was carved in stone.
Right.
But he was there.
He was there, and he showed deference to the president, again, carved in stone. But it's like, these are things that should not be acceptable at all to any citizen.
The thing with Murphy is, I mean, I think he's angling for something higher up the food chain. I'm not quite sure what it is.
No
whether
doubt
it's
about it.
vice president or
No doubt about it.
some cabinet position, but he's looking beyond U.S. senator in Connecticut.
There's no doubt about it.
And I look
which
at
is
this
a
and his
frightening
conduct, and I say, who would want to pick this up?
Exactly. And I just think that is an insult to everybody in uniform. That is an insult to every taxpayer. That is an insult to anybody that believes in the principles of freedom and the American dream.
Yeah, it's a. But the lack
really
of
do.
respect. I mean, and one thing that a lot of the stuff dovetails, I might add.
It does.
But when you look at the conduct of at the State of the Union of Ilhan Omar from Minneapolis, Minnesota,
It's disgraceful.
and from Dearborn, from Rashida Tlaib, and I mean they are disgraceful, un-American, anti-Semitic. And where do they get their support, and why the Democrats tolerate this? Why don't they shun them? Why do they allow them and give them that platform?
That's a very good question, because you look at it, all of the insurrectionists, I'll call them, the insurrectionist people, not being able to come up with a better term, seditionists, who came out and said, you do not have to follow an illegal order. I was with the CIA. I'm this, Seth Moulton, that moron from Massachusetts. And it was like, and I don't know, we always hear this thing of, oh, well, we're gonna court-martial them, we're gonna take away their benefits. And like, it never gets to where it happens. And then you have these people who want to wave the flag and say Donald Trump is this horrible, unpatriotic, rotten soul, but they never say a word about Tlaib and the other one. It's like, hey, it's great, just keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
It's a disgrace.
I mean, when you look at what's happening now, it's happened now for 5 or 6 days in Iran, and you have the Democrats running pell-mell with basically half-cocked, to be charitable, wanting to stifle the president with the war powers, of which nobody has pushed since it's been enacted in 1973, which is amazing, only for Trump, is that, where are these folks? I mean, they're compromising, or potentially going to compromise our military.
And they don't care. And
And these are the same people who you just said were saying, well, don't obey unlawful orders.
Yeah.
Nobody has said anything about this being unlawful orders by the military. Nobody. And nobody has stood up and said, I'm not doing this because it is. So what is it? And I think the Democrats got their heads tucked up where the sun don't shine.
Well, there's nothing, if you want to talk midterms, there's nothing that would make them on operation and paper and governance and intelligence and policy the least bit palatable for anything at all. You mentioned Tim Walz earlier, mentioned Chris Murphy. But it's like, but somehow, some way, they are getting people interested in what they're doing. Now, I don't know if this is just, quote unquote, Daddy Soros just taking out the bankroll and, here's a sign, go pick it. And as long as you vote for Chris Murphy or whoever you vote for, we'll keep handing you some money. But it's like, there's nothing there that would have any sort of tangible anything, but yeah, they're getting interest, which frankly I just don't understand it other than somebody's handing them money. Why else would you do it?
But it just it blows my mind. I mean, trying to put my finger on at what point in time, because it just didn't happen with a snap of the fingers, that the Democratic Party has shifted so far to the left to socialism or worse.
Me, myself, and I think it happened when the whole COVID-19 communist takeover plot. I'm not saying COVID-19 wasn't generous. I had it 3 times, recovered, and was not vaccinated, thank God. But the disease did get out, or the illness, whatever you want to call it. But they put this fear in the minds of people that only government can save you, and only government that cares about you can save you. And if anybody wants to take that away from you, they're bad and they're evil and they need to be done away with. You think about it. It was a vastly different world in 2019 than it is right now in 2026.
Yeah, well, I would go back.
That's where
we're running out of time here, but we are. I would just like to say that I think that going back to the Obama administration,
I think that's the roots of it. Yeah,
I mean, he clearly articulated that he wanted to transform America as we know.
He wanted to fundamentally change America.
And I think that was the genesis of a lot of this.
I think you're right. I really, really do.
Well, folks, we've exhausted our time here on City Focus. As we do, we run out of time. Tony, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, folks.
And we'll see you again next week, and hopefully we'll get Tony in real soon. We always have a lively chat, and I'm glad that we had a chance to expand our audience tonight. So thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Marty, and thanks to the folks on 30 with Tony. We'll be back with our regular format that you're most accustomed to.
Sometimes
Well, thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of a different version of 30 with Tony. Today's story is this. A father took his little daughter to work. I guess we're coming up in that time, take your daughter to work day. And she was not happy, and she was crying and yelling, saying, "Daddy, I want to go home." Father said, "Why do you want to go home? Aren't you having a good time?" Then, "No. You mentioned all these clowns and donkeys and jackasses you work with. There's none of them here." Be careful what you wish for. Tony D'Angelo. Thank you, Kemosabe's. See me, Lee Elsie Show, Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern on Talk Red TV and 94.9. And Thursdays, X, Twitter, and YouTube on 30 with Tony. God bless you. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye now.